All right, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy Forrest back at it again with another video. Today's video, I want to talk about how we cannot let people divide us. We are all the same. I know they try to divide us with our skin color, whether you're black, white, Asian, Mexican, Indian, etc. All of us are the same. And I feel like a lot of people don't realize that concept, that no matter what we look like, no matter what shape or size or color we come in, we are all literally the same. Underneath this skin, underneath this flesh, underneath this bone, we're just a soul that is in this body for the human experience, and what comes next after that, we'll see what happens. I think that the media tries to divide us. They'll plaster like a white person, a black person going at it. And then now all of a sudden, like, white people and black people don't get along, and it's pushing hate towards everybody. And I think that it just divides us, like our world isn't united as a whole. We're separated by countries, and we're at war with each other, and it's ridiculous, to be honest. And I didn't live during the slavery days and all the other stuff that's happened in our past, but that's stuff that our ancestors did. A lot of our ancestors were at each other's throats, and because of that, doesn't matter what race you are, it's caused what we're living in today, which is hate. Not to say that there isn't any love in the world, but there's a lot of hate in the world than there is love, and that's a problem. We cannot let our governments, we can't let social media, we got to stop letting these things divide all of us, because at the end of the day, we need each other as a species, as the human species. We need each other to survive. We need each other to evolve. If we're ever going to thrive as a species and get to the next level, we have to learn to be able to come together as one. Because if we don't, when catastrophe hits, the first thing we would do is be at each other's throats. The way this world is going right now, how expensive everything is, the cost of living, it's ridiculous. And this is not how human beings should live, but this is a society that they've created for all of us. And they know that if we all come together and realize that what they're doing is wrong, we would be unstoppable. I'm not pushing for war or anything. I'm just saying that we have more power than you think. And if we're divided and not together, then we lose. All these politicians and, these higher ups, they don't really care about any of us. They only care about themselves. They only care about money. They only care about greed. It's not sustainable. So we need to come together and realize that we're all the same. We got to put all of this shit that happened in the past behind us. It happened. I'm not saying racism and stuff still doesn't exist right now, but what I'm saying is it's time to move forward. It's time to stop all these stereotypes. Black people do this, white people do that, Mexicans do this. Like, let's just throw it all out of the window and just start over and figure out how we can all come together and combat against everything that's happening around the world right now, not just America, but just around the world, because this isn't the answer. And I make this video to instill hope into everybody and know that if we do come together, we can fight against all this adversity that we face on a daily basis. But we have to be willing to change ourselves before we can change everything else. I truly believe that we can fix this. We can fix this world that we live in, but we have to do it together. We can't do it alone. We have to come together. You know, let's say that a major earthquake happens and, you know, like for instance, yeah, in California, we're known for earthquakes. Let's say that a catastrophic earthquake happens, then it's like our system would fall, and then everybody around us would be at each other's throats. Everybody would have their own little cliques, and it would literally be the fall of California. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. Like we're not together. Like if something were to happen today, we would all pretty much be fending for ourselves. Like I'm sure there are other species out there in the universe who don't have to, you know, deal with racism and classism and all these other things that divide every single one of us. And they're able to thrive, you know what I'm saying? That's why they got these UFOs and stuff that can defy gravity and whatnot, because I'm sure their species evolved and they decided that they're going to work together instead of being at each other's throats, and they're able to advance themselves. You know what I mean? That's what we need to do. We need to come together like that. All right. You know, I don't know if you believe in aliens. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I do. I don't think we're alone in this universe. That's just my theory, you know? I'd be like taking a spoon and putting it in the ocean, scooping it up and be like, man, there's no fish in here because of this tiny spoon that has only just a small amount of water in it. But, you know, we're all so brainwashed to, even if you're not racist, like I feel like it's subconsciously in a lot of people's minds, whether they want to admit it or not, because of what we're fed on a daily basis, whether it be the news. So I don't really watch the news, or social media. It's just like constant division. They do not want all of us together. And it's like, if we don't come together, it could be the end of our species, you know? And I understand there are higher forces that don't want us to come together because they know that'll be the end of what they have for us. But I just know that people are tired. People are tired of living the way that we're living. Our species is living the way the world is living. Everyone's getting tired, and it's only a matter of time before things erupt. You know, it's like a volcano. Like it sits still and it builds up for so long, and eventually all that chaos that's hitting underneath the surface, it erupts. And then what? More chaos. Chaos plus chaos equals more chaos. It doesn't equal peace. It's the truth. If we don't stop our shit, God help us all, you know? God help us all. This is real shit. Like, I'm tired of seeing the world like this. And it's like nobody stands up and says anything because everybody's scared. And I understand. I know they come for a lot of people who try to stand up for something. You know, they did it to Martin Luther King. They did it to Malcolm X. And the list goes on and on. But when we all unify, guys, it's literally the most powerful thing. And I think when people wake up and realize how powerful we are, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying lead it with violence and guns and stuff and killing and like none of that stuff. None of that stuff is good. You know, there's a better way to handle this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have all the answers, but I know that unification is what scares people the most. It's what scares the higher ups the most, is unification. So we got to come together. And I'm going to keep repeating myself and saying that because that is the point that I'm trying to drive in your minds, is that we have to stay together. Unification is key if we want to advance as a species. And I know they make it difficult for us to do that. I know a lot of you are scared, but shoot, I know Martin Luther King must have been scared. Malcolm X was scared, I'm sure, deep down. But they stood up for what they believed in, and they changed the world. You know what I'm saying? If it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't even be here making this video in front of all of you guys right now, if it wasn't for them. So, even my ancestors too, all the stuff that they've been through, you know? Like they gave me this freedom to make this video. So why can't I at least try to create some type of freedom for all of us and giving you this message today? I'm not a parent, but to my parents out there, really educate your kids on not seeing color. You know what I'm saying? When kids, when they go to school and they're babies and they're not judging each other, you know what I'm saying? Unless they grew up in a home where, you know, their family might be racist, and then it instills it into the child, and then they go out and go and they give those examples out just because they are taught, you know, it's okay to treat this person because they look like this. You know what I mean? So kids, when they go to school, they're not judging each other by skin color. They're all just having fun. They're all just having fun. They're all just being present in the moment. They're not thinking about all the external things. They're not thinking about what this person looks like, what that person looks like. And I said it usually happens because, you know, either they have a damaged home and somebody taught them those things and they go out and do it to other kids. But other than that, it doesn't genuinely happen. It's usually taught in the home. So to my parents out there, please, 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 please just think about the hate you're instilling into your child, because this person might grow up one day and be in charge of something major. It might be in charge of a hospital. It might be in charge of being the president of the United States, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, just think about it. Why do you hate somebody who looks different than you? Why? Why are you scared of somebody who looks different than you? For the majority of us, we're human. You know, I know there are some people on this earth who aren't human, who are not from this planet. And I think as time goes on, we're all going to see that that is the case, that some people here aren't human, and maybe some people here are even taking form of human beings and doing other things. You know, call me a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but, you know, I think it's crazy to me how people can say that, you know, conspiracy theories exist. And it's like, let me break this simple thing down for you. To our knowledge, we live on a floating rock in a dark space. We're just floating, and the gravity is holding us at a certain point to where our planet doesn't fall, or the sun is just far enough away to where we don't get burned to a crisp, or the moon is just, you know, at a certain distance to where it doesn't destroy a lot of our ocean currents and tides. You know what I mean? So I don't understand how that word conspiracy even exists. I think anything is possible, to be honest. Anything is possible. I don't rule anything out. But all in all, I truly just think that if we come together as one, if we put all of our differences aside, if we put all of our ancestral stuff that happened and we carry with us, we will advance. Like, we don't have to carry all that hate from the past that, to be honest, a lot of us didn't even experience. And I'm not saying forget that it happened. All I'm saying is that we all need to move forward if we want to better ourselves, better our world, better our species. We have to come together, guys. I think it's time. it really is that time. I think, and I always say this, the way that the world is trending, if we don't come together, if we do not come together, I think that our species is doomed. We're one catastrophe away from, going into a civil war and then turning on each other, and then everyone's killing each other. Everybody's at each other's throats. We're closer to that than I think we know. And the only way we can prevent from turning on each other is to be consciously aware of what's going on. When the media is telling you to look this way, you really need to be looking that way. Take it with a grain of salt when they push certain narratives, because most of the time some other stuff is going on in the background. But guys, please don't let them divide us. Okay? Like, I don't have kids, but I'm terrified for our generation that's behind us, that has to grow up. I feel like it's going to be chaos for them unless we take a stand and try to do what's right. So with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. It's all going to be okay. But like I said, we all just have to put our differences aside and come together if we want to see change. But I wish you guys well on your journey. Praying for you all. Hope everybody's doing well. If you're going through something, just keep your head up. It's only temporary. This life that we live is temporary, and there's another life after this one. I truly believe that. Like I said, I've seen some things in this life that to most people would be crazy, or you can't explain it, but I know for sure there's a life after this one, and I know we're all here for a reason. We're all here to learn certain lessons, and we take these lessons, and when we die, we take it to the next one, and then we just keep going and going. The truth is that we truly never die, because energy never dies. It's only transferred. Hope you guys have a great one. I'm out of here. Peace.